Hi, Mackenzie. Welcome. It's very nice to meet you, and thank you very much for joining me. How are you?
I'm doing really great. Thank you so much for reaching out and allowing me to share my story with your audience. I'm really excited to talk with you for a little bit and tell people what's going on.
Thank you, Mackenzie. Thanks again for being here.
Yeah.
Before we jump in, can you tell me a bit about yourself, how you discovered carnivore? How did it all start for you?
Okay. Well, I am 31 years old. I've got two kids. I am a pastor, and my wife, or not my wife, my husband, he works as a sales manager at a tire company, but he also helps me pastor young adults at our church. So I do a bunch of different stuff, but um, I was diagnosed with lupus at 23, a little bit before I met my husband, and we got married in the middle of like all that craziness. I can get into that later if you happen to ask about it. But my husband was actually looking up different diets because he wanted to just lose weight like kind of quickly. And he came up across like carnivore animal based diet, and he shared it with me because the more he looked into it, the more he saw that it was actually called like the autoimmune diet. And so I was like, yeah, I don't know. I think you're absolutely nuts. Like you're gonna die. So that's kind of how it all started. But he started listening to how people's lives were changing, and I saw it from myself. He doesn't have any autoimmune issues, but I saw just the huge change that came over him within like 2 short months. And he did. He lost a ton of weight, but he experienced a ton of other benefits too. And so it made me curious enough for myself to go and start researching. And then I just tried it one day and I was like, wow, this is real. Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. So, how long are you and your husband pretty much carnivore now? Has it been many years now?
So I have been on it without any breaks for a little over a year now. Almost, I think like a year and like 2 months. And Jalen's been off and on it periodically, but he's been going now for like 40 something days. Like 40 something days. So yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I guess I
Yeah.
just want to explore a little bit about the lupus
Okay.
thing. So, what was the symptoms that you were commonly experiencing, like when you were diagnosed?
Whoa. So before I was actually diagnosed, my symptoms started in April, and I didn't get an official diagnosis until August. So it was months of like just craziness. But it started out like very simple. I got like red dots on my hands. I was 23 years old at the time too. I was just living my life like doing whatever, didn't really care. But I got red dots on my hands that wouldn't go away. And then the skin in my nose, like right here and in my ears, kept peeling and bleeding and then healing and then peeling and bleeding and then healing. And it was like just so random. So I went to the doctor, and they told me we're going to put you on some like 10 milligrams of prednisone a day for 10 days and just really low grade. And they were like, if you end up feeling a little bit better and if it goes away, and then it comes back a little later, then we know it's something autoimmune. But if nothing changes with any of this, then you might have like just a weird infection or like something else is going on, but at least we can rule out. So they took my blood and did some tests and found that I had, what is it, the positive ANA test and then the super high SED rate in my blood. But they didn't really do anything with it. And I didn't realize at the time that the positive ANA wasn't super crazy, but the super high SED rate was like, whoa, she actually needs to be looked at, but I didn't know. So I got through the 10 days of steroids, noticed that it was going away, but I didn't know what autoimmune meant. And no one had explained it to me, and I wasn't curious enough to look it up. I was just like, okay, like we'll just fix the issue. Um, and so I remember getting through those 10 days, and I was like, okay, well, like it went away. And about a week later, I noticed that it started coming back, but it started coming back worse. Like it was really peeling and bleeding now, and it was very raw and like very sore in my nose. And I actually don't remember the red bumps on my hands ever coming back, which is, weird. But I was in a parade with my church, and it was extremely hot and very, very sunny. The Memorial Day parade was like always the hottest and sunniest day ever. And I just went about my day. I didn't really know anything, but I had spent probably 3 or 4 really good hours out in the sun. And I want to say the very next day, I noticed a rash appearing on my arms and on my legs, on my neck, pretty much everywhere the sun touched, like even down to like the holes in my jeans. Like the rash was only right there where the sun had hit it, but like my shins, like they were fine. So I was just like, what the heck is going on? So I went to a different doctor because I didn't know that any of these things were related. I just thought something crazy was going on. So I went to go get allergy testing. And I was like, I know this sounds really extreme for a 23-year-old, but like I can't stay awake and my bones hurt. And now I have this really weird rash, and I don't know if I'm allergic to something, but I just need help at this point. So they looked at my blood test results. I went to a different building, but it was like the same hospital chain. So they had the information, and they were like, with all of these symptoms and your SED rate being over 70, it looks like you have lupus. And I'd never even heard that word. So I was like, well, I don't know what this means. And they were just like, I don't know. They said stuff like, well, don't freak out. You don't have to freak out quite yet. But then so I was like, wait, what do you mean don't freak out? I wasn't freaking out in the first place. I was just trying to get help. So like, I don't know. They just like started freaking out a little bit. And I felt like it was really dramatic in the moment. But I went home and talked to my mom about it. And she had been there every step of the way with me. And so I was like, well, it sounds like this. And she was just kind of like, we really got to make sure it's not this. And a couple days later, I ended up getting into a different doctor's office. And by that time, the rash had spread all over my face. The joint aches were crazy. I had cracks in my nails. I never experienced like real kidney pain before, but I was experiencing that. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, why does my lower back kill so much? Like, it was just so strange. And I had looked up what lupus was like almost immediately after they said the word. And I was like, heck no, like, I don't know. But as soon as I saw the butterfly rash come, like just the classic all over my face, I was like, this cannot be happening to me. Like, this is just so random. So yeah, that's how it happened. And so that was in May, that was Memorial Day, the last week of May. And I wasn't able to get in around here to a rheumatologist and actually get a legitimate diagnosis until mid-August. And they put me on some steroids to help mitigate things. They gave me a steroid cream to help out with my rash. That did go away like very quickly with the steroid cream. That was nice. But it was just the prednisone, and my face blew up, and it didn't work nearly as well or as fast as I wanted it to. So that's kind of how it all started.
Wow. Yeah. I think you mentioned a lot of the symptoms. I think yeah, because I heard lupus before, like, and I've heard many things like that comes with it, and it's going to be a lot of indication here and there. And I think it's specifically those skin things that you're talking about, and I feel like I've experienced them because I have psoriasis, which is also the same as autoimmune, but it's not lupus. So yeah, and the way I pretty much healed them before without Carnivore was just steroid creams for 2 decades.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so my son has like a small patch of eczema on his leg, and I was really nervous actually about using a steroid cream with him because there was a bunch of stuff like a year and a half ago that came out about long-term steroid cream use and how it can like thin the skin or like mess up certain parts of like your hormones. And I was just like, dog, like, no, like, I don't know. The more I look into this type of stuff, the more I'm just like, people just got to eat meat and leave everything else alone. But yeah, I can't believe you used that for so long. Like, that's so crazy. You haven't had any like side effects or like skin thinning or anything like that?
Yeah, I did hear about the skin thinning also, but I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy at that point. There's degree of desperation for me to just heal. So I'll do whatever it takes, even if
Yeah.
my skin, like, have some kind of issues later on. And I'll probably just start coping and use it, to say it's just part of aging, something like that.
Oh yeah.
but, Mackenzie, so, um, I know your husband did the pretty much did the research in the beginning and also
Mhm.
tried the animal-based diet, the carnivore. How long did you do the research for? Was it like easy for you to jump in, or did your husband took you some time to show you his research or like convincing you or anything like that?
We sat down and watched like these YouTube videos together at first. And he showed me, I forgot who he showed me. I think we came across Anthony Chafee first. And then we came across maybe Ken Berry. I started finding like Steak and Butter Gal, and then my Zero Carb Life girl. I forgot what her name is. Then Rancher Maggie, like randomly didn't even like. So I started finding all these people, and we started researching these YouTube videos together. And then by the time I'd had my son, I transitioned from the like the workforce to being a stay-at-home mom for a while, and so I had all of this time, and I just started researching it more and more without him because I had become so interested. Like I had no idea that like no carbs were necessary. Like there was like sugar was not an essential nutrient. Like you don't need it, and that your body can make whatever it needs. Like just that alone blew my mind. And I'm really interested in like scientific, quirky, like whatever stuff like that anyway. So as soon as I started seeing people like how much they were sharing, other people who had like completely recovered with lupus, and the fact that a lot of these people that are vouching for it are like legitimate doctors with licenses and degrees that really don't have anything a ton to gain from just sharing the truth. And then changing their own lifestyle over to that, I was like, these people are so convinced this has to be real. It wouldn't make any sense. It can't be like a ploy for money, or like there's too many people being affected by it. But yeah, as soon as I saw the fact that like you like no dietary sugar is needed for you to not only survive but to actually thrive, that completely blew my mind. I was amazed.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
know, actually, those people you mentioned are also the first people, I've watched also. I think Steak and
Hmm.
Butter Gal, and then
Yeah.
Anthony Chafee, and then Dr. Ken Berry, Sean Baker, who else? And then I
Yeah.
found Dave Mack, I
Yes.
think
Yeah.
all the story pretty much like I was kind of like stuck with that for a while, and then just like keep watching all these different stories.
Yep.
And yeah, and then it took me a while to like wrap my head around this whole idea, so it took me like months. Did it pretty much like, while you were doing your research, did it took you a while to wrap your head around it?
Um, I would say yes. Um, it wasn't that I didn't become quickly convinced. I think like the evidence just before me, I was like, this is obviously something. But I was a brand new mom. I was a breastfeeding mom. I was hormonal. I was like, this is the time when like if a woman is going to eat whatever the heck she wants, however much of she wants, like it's when she's pregnant and breastfeeding. Like don't take this time and freedom away from me. That was more of the convincing on my part. I was like, I can see that this is real and this is effective, but the self-discipline I didn't want to apply because I was like, this is my right. Like why would you take this away from me? But it wasn't that. It was more of like my wonderful husband was just so patient with me, and he was just like, you've had these issues, and at this time I was pretty much in remission. I was just on a good amount of medication. And so it's not like when I decided to do carnivore, I wasn't waking up with like crazy joint aches and fatigue. Like on the medication, my body was good. Um, but I really wanted it to just be over. I can't explain it. I'm a woman of faith, obviously. I told you I'm a pastor. So there was just something on the inside of me that was like, I just really feel like I don't have to accept this as a final sentence. Like, I don't know. And I think it was faith. I definitely think so. And I think that, divine things can happen in the practical as well. It doesn't have to be like mystical and stars and a wand or whatever. Like, sometimes you just have to do what you're supposed to do. And that's as much of a miracle. And it really was. It was miraculous how quickly I changed around. And yeah, I mean, my husband really was the one that was like, hey, if you just do this, people are actually getting off of their medication. Like, people are actually living symptom free. Like, listen to these people. And I mean, when you hear carnivores don't burn in the sun, or it's very hard for them to burn in the sun, and I have like prescription grade zinc oxide white chalky sunscreen that I have to apply, and I'm a person of color, like, that's embarrassing. Like, I want to go out and get dark. So like, but when you hear like how much of a miracle that is, just by applying self-discipline and changing your eating habits and stepping out in faith, that's what you have to do. I had no idea. The only way for me to prove that it was also true and real is if I made that life shift. So it was just the discipline aspect that took me a long time. I was very convinced by the evidence, like, very quickly.
Yeah, that is very beautiful and very well said. I feel like the same thing, about the sun, because before, I play tennis and I go out in the sun a lot, but I find myself very sensitive because of the skin issues. And then, I
Yep.
have to wear like a hat and sun shades, and everything, sunscreen. But now,
Hmm.
I would I would go out there for hours without anything. So
Yeah. And it's another interesting thing about the sun too. Since I was a teenager, um, I mean, yeah, since I was a teenager, before I even got sick, I remember distinctly having a very low heat tolerance in general. Um, and I didn't like, I heard a couple people talk about it with autoimmune issues, but if it got above 75 degrees, I'm not going outside. Like, that's literally how I felt. It was too much. And just a week and a half ago, it got to above 100 degrees here. And I walked around the block with my kids on their bike. And I was in a t-shirt, but I had like straight up jeans and sneakers on. I walked around. It was actually like a couple blocks. And I wasn't even sweating. I didn't know it was that hot. Like, I came in, checked the weather for whatever reason. I think I checked it for like the next day and saw the 10-day forecast. And I was like, oh my God, it's 100 degrees. And I was completely amazed. I was like, my heat tolerance has gone up so much. But a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, if it got above 75 degrees, I literally felt like I couldn't breathe. Like, I was a Debbie Downer. Like, don't invite me to a pool party. Don't ask me to sit outside at a cute restaurant, because I'm not doing it. Like, it was crazy. And I thought I was just a winter person, but now I'm just like, oh my gosh, like 80-degree weather, put me in it all day. I'm completely comfortable now. So it's really great. It really is. It's
yeah,
very freeing. But,
that is awesome. Yeah, that's wonderful. Mackenzie, so those changes, like what was the first sign that made you think that this carnivore thing was working? 'Cause you mentioned a lot of symptoms, like like nails cracking, with the
mhm.
skin stuff, the kidney pain,
Yep.
the brain fatigue.
Hmm.
Yeah, was it like instantaneous, or was it something like gradually you start feeling better?
Hmm. Let me think. Okay, so I went through a couple periods when I went on and off it and on and off it. And obviously I've been on it for over a year and I don't plan on doing anything. But that first chunk of time when I really first tried it, um, the second day I knew something was happening, but I was in a ton of joint pain. And I was very scared because at that point I was in remission. And so for all of this pain to come up so suddenly, I talked to my husband and I was like, this isn't right. This isn't working for my body. I don't know. Maybe I'm just weird, but this isn't the diet for me. Like, this doesn't whatever. And he just goes, you're oxalate dumping. And I was like, well, what the heck is that? Like, I'm telling you, he had to like help me like walk up the stairs. It was really dramatic, but he was like, you know, you can't give up on this. Like, and so I was like, okay, but I had like just the worst aches. Like my hips would not want to move. And that happened day 2, just for one day. It just resurged. And so I looked up oxalate dumping, and I was like, I mean, maybe it kind of sounds like people are just trying to come up with new terms to like make people stay on the diet longer in case it starts failing. But I had nothing else to lose. It wasn't like, I don't know, you might as well. So I just kept going in faith, and I was like, I just got to trust the process. Like maybe this really is real. And by day 3, I was completely fine. The first real thing that went away was my brain fog. And I just felt like, I don't know, I still have classic woman brain, but it was like constantly like 3 different streams of thought at once. Like you're tuning into like 3 different radio stations, but I couldn't hone in on any of them. And it was so annoying all the time. It was so hard to be productive. And my mind just felt so much quieter. And I was like, wow, I feel like I can actually think like clear thoughts. That was the first thing. And then the second thing that really convinced me, I was like, oh, this is like for me, was I suffered from insomnia horribly. I would wake up like 2 or 3 times a night regularly and have terrible trouble getting back to sleep. And I thought that was just like part of my personality because I'm creative. I do like music and like whatever. I'm just that type of person. So I just attributed it to a personality trait, but I still to this day fall asleep within like 5 or 6 minutes, and I legitimately don't wake up to even go to the bathroom anymore. Like I will have the fullest bladder in the morning, but my body will not wake up, and it's great every single night. So those were the 2 biggest things that happened really quickly for me where I was like, this is definitely something.
Yeah, wow, that's awesome to hear. You know, that's
Yeah.
actually the biggest benefit for me. I mean, I wasn't trying to heal my skin, doing carnivore,
Hmm.
but the biggest benefit would be the sleeping thing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
There's nothing
Um,
like it.
yeah, exactly. Mackenzie, so did you had any assumption, before finding out about carnivore, like what was the root cause of your health issues? For me, I used to look back and say, it could be a certain food that's triggering this, or maybe I'm just stressed all the time, or maybe it's my personality. I'm just always
Yeah.
stressed. Or maybe I'm just dirty. I need to go shower, but then I'm overdoing the shower. My skin starts to dry.
Right.
It's just so
Right.
many, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you? Did you have like assumptions?
Yeah. That's a good question. So I was told that usually lupus starts out when like something triggers your immune system, and then you can't like your immune system can't turn it off, and it can't distinguish between like what is a pathogen and what is your genetic material. And so in February, pretty much the whole month of February, I did have a very nasty round of bronchitis. It was three solid weeks of bronchitis, and I had to be on a Z pack. And I coughed so much actually that I tore like my interrib muscles and had to go to the hospital because I thought I broke them coughing. It was like I could not stop for days. It was hundreds of times. And so I did have like some sort of like viral infection, and then right after that is when the symptoms started. Um, I do also have a great I used to have a great aunt, I believe, that had lupus. So it is something genetic that runs in my family. Um, but I did also treat my body like a dumpster. And I just, you're just like a young woman, you're just eating like the standard American diet, candy, whatever. And so I'm wondering if like my body hadn't been overwhelmed with so many seed oils, so many processed things, if it were like just a simple infection, if my body wouldn't have freaked out so much because it was already freaking out from everything that I put in it. And I was just unaware because I thought that those low grade symptoms were just a part of normal life, like brain fog and like slight fatigue and not being able to sleep. And I don't know, I think like in our country, we've just been so conditioned to believe that those things are normal. Or like your body breaking down at 30 years old when people are like living comfortably like into their 90s. Like, I don't know. So I think, and the low heat tolerance too when I was very young. So I didn't see like the precursors leading up to something big happening, and I had no idea that that stuff ran in my family. So I don't know. My original rheumatologist told me that it's usually triggered by some sort of sickness, and so I did have that right before my symptoms showed up. But the terrible diet certainly didn't didn't help anything. So yeah. Oops.
Yeah, I feel like that's also one of the assumptions I had. Just like well, after doing carnivore, like experimenting it with my own body, I just feel like, what have I been eating all this time? And then you start to think about, like you mentioned, seed oils, the vegetables, and then all the sugar. Yeah, and then it's just like, okay, what have I been doing all this time? Just like, yeah.
Yeah, it is really crazy. And so like I told you before, I've gone on and off of it like a couple times, and it was incredible. Like when my body started clearing itself out and it was like starting to calm down. I remember the first time I got off of it, it was like, I think it was for my birthday, and we went to like a local barbecue pit around here, and I had like a really big piece of like cornbread, and it was so sweet. Oh my gosh. Like, I remember how it tasted. It tasted so good. But the day after, oh my God, I was like, I had like a stomach ache. I woke up late, like my joints started to hurt again. And I was like, why is my body not tolerating this now? But like before I got sick, it felt like it was fine, but like your body just starts to recognize what's really not supposed to be there and what is supposed to be there after like it gets a chance to calm down. But I don't know, like if you have like this is what I like to kind of liken it to. If your entire house is on fire, like you're probably just going to try and like spray water everywhere. And you're like, I really don't know where this is coming from. Like, let's just kind of try and like clear it out, and like fire's going and you're like, whatever. But like if a small fire like starts in the corner, you're going to be like, oh, it started there, and like just dump water on it. So that's what it seemed like. It seems like now it's trying to get on top of the issue or send me like early warning signals like, hey, this was never supposed to be here. It's almost like it like gave up when I had like all the seed oils, all the plant material, all of the sugar, like everything. It was just like, whatever, bro, just like start dying slowly. I don't even know where to start. But now that it's cleaned out, it's so much more on top of things, and it can recognize like that is not supposed to be here. Like, my friend made me like a little carnivore cake for my birthday, and it was like egg based, and it had like some like unsweetened homemade whipped cream on the top of it, and she put a little bit of cinnamon on it. And I didn't know that my body didn't like cinnamon previously, but I had like a giant slice of it, and oh my gosh, it was so good. But for the next 2 weeks, I had itchy red spots all up and down my legs. And I hadn't had that reaction before. It was just like, whatever. But like my body just doesn't like cinnamon, and it hasn't happened since. That's the only... No, my body doesn't really like cumin either. I try to stay away from like really strong spices, but it's just very sensitive now. It really tells me like, I don't want that in here. And so I just don't anymore because I don't like dealing with it. And it doesn't feel like so much of a huge sacrifice because of all of the benefits that I get just staying away from it. Like, it's just not even worth it to me anymore. It's like, whatever, just skip out on a little num, but I get to sleep at night and have great skin. So I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something, yeah. I think in the beginning, especially for me, was just that whole mental game. Like, do you want to give it up? But you're gonna lose the sleep. You're gonna lose all these benefits. If you go back to eating the way you used to, something like that.
Yeah.
But did you have any like specific food? Do you have any food, a favorite food that you like before carnivore?
Did I have a favorite food that I liked before carnivore? Oh my gosh. I'm a like at heart I'm a foodie. So I loved ice cream. Ice cream was like my thing. Um I really loved like spicy boneless chicken wings. I know they're adult chicken nuggets, but I don't care. Give me those. Those were incredible. Spicy food, anything. Loved Thai food. Loved it. All the vegetables, all the seasonings, like delicacy for me. Um, Pizza was also a favorite of mine, like a little piece of breakfast pizza in the morning. Why not? Um, French fries. I mean, I wasn't really picky, honestly, at night, but like when I put my kids to bed, I loved having like a little fudge round, like a little fudge round and like a bottle of ginger ale, and I would just like relax and just, all right, at least my kids are asleep. I can have my alone time and just get my little sugar fix and feel good for a second. And that was like a little bit of a ritual for me. So I'm not going to tell you anymore because I really did have an eating problem. But yes, I was a foodie. I super loved healthy, like salads, junk food, deep fried, you name it. I was all over it. What was
Yeah, yeah. I
yours?
mean, there's so many. Like you mentioned, I think everything you mentioned is pretty much all I like, right? I
Yeah.
mean, if I have to add on to that, I would say like street foods, like different Asian street foods. I like fried chicken. I like it, to mix it with rice. And then, just to
Hmm.
stay on the healthy side, I used to think like I need to mix in some spinach here on the side. What was I thinking?
Yeah.
Going back at it now. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What were any of us thinking? It's okay.
Yeah. So Mackenzie, what is your motivation now? Like, before carnivore, like I feel like I was very depressed. Actually, let me take that back. I would just say like mild depressed. And then, after carnivore, I feel like my motivation seems to be up. I want to do so many things. I want to do so many activities, just like
Mhm.
full of life, I would say. What about you? What motivates you now? Is it like sharing your story, helping people, find an answer or maybe a sense of duty?
Mhm.
Are you frustrated with the medical guidelines, the nutrition guidelines? Yeah. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think all of it, but my motivation is I just simply know the truth now, and I would have to turn my back on the truth and reality. Um, and that is too much. That's too big of a price for me to pay. I would literally have to become delusional and convince myself that this doesn't work somehow and that I had better results treating my body the way that I did then. And I mean, I've had bosses and coworkers and friends and family members after all this time look at me and say, "You are literally a different person. You're a different person." So it's not like I'm the only one that sees the difference. Like my life has so changed that like my husband can see the difference. My children get a better mom out of me. There are I released a series of videos that incorporated faith into this, that taught the basic principles and then the spiritual principles of self discipline and really overcoming those internal desires that we want to control and satisfy ourselves with instant gratification. And I released a series of videos, and I had people with type 2 diabetes messaging me, telling me how their life has changed, and people who just simply wanted to lose weight um, that were messaging me, and they were like, wow, all I wanted to do is lose a couple extra pounds, but everything else has changed too. So it's like that's my motivation. Like it's a completely different reality for me. Um, Everything changed when I took that step of faith. It really did. Why would I go? I can't even think of one good reason why I would go back. The only reason, and it's not even a good enough reason. It's like it's sometimes mildly inconvenient, like that I just cook myself food 3 times a day. My kids have like a slightly different diet than me, so like I'm in the kitchen all the time. Um, but like even socially, I'll eat like a third of a stick of butter and have some ground beef. And I know that there's going to be food there, but I go full, not craving anything. And who cares if I didn't eat there? You know what I mean? Like there's so many other benefits and so many other incredible changes that have happened for me that like that's my motivation. I just have too much proof. And I don't want any of the other stuff anyway. Like all my cravings went away. So it's like I don't know what would have to happen for me to, I'd have to get like hit in the head really hard and like forget the last, what, 14, 15 months of progress that I've made, you know? Like it just wouldn't even make any sense at this point.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, I feel like many carnivores who, pretty much entered this lifestyle, I think they all went, tried the experiment on their own body.
Hmm.
And then, they probably approached it as just a diet. And then once it became, the understanding of being, long term and this is sustainable, I think it just became a lifestyle, like gradually.
Yeah.
Um, Looking back at the start of your journey, like,
Yeah.
were there any mistakes doing carnivore? Maybe you can tell me what and how did you learn from them?
Yes, I did. So at first, when I'm giving people advice, because it is such like a huge lifestyle change, I try to give people little things that can help them along the way. Like if you need a snack and you're really dying for a different flavor, why don't you try like some like cheese slices, like your favorite slice of cheese, and then like some pepperoni? Because those first couple weeks, I mean, it is really crazy. You're like, my life sucks. My body feels weird. I've got this crazy brain fog. Like, so other things are happening that we don't need to talk about, but so it is huge. But the one biggest thing that I think led to clogged ducts, because I was breastfeeding and my baby was only like 3 or 4 months old at the time, was I'm pretty sure I was eating way too much lean meat. I was air frying chicken breasts, and I just seasoned it up a little bit. And I was doing that probably like 2 times a day, and then had like a little bit of steak at night or whatever else. I can't even remember. I eat a lot differently now, but I definitely wasn't getting enough fat at first. And so I had clogged ducts like 3 or 4 times within the week, and that is miserable. And then obviously, like if you're not eating enough fat, like your energy will super dip and you're not going to feel very good. Um, so yeah, I would definitely say like eat as much red meat as you can, like beef, nothing later than 80/20. Um, Season it up differently in the beginning if you have to. I mean, whatever you can do to make that transition a little bit more pleasant, because it is very difficult to shift that mindset, and your body just tries to convince you that you're going to die if you don't eat at least an apple. Oh my gosh. But you and then the next thing you know, I've done all the games. You eat an apple and the next thing you know, you're like mowing down like a whole box of Cheez-Its and you're like, how did I get here? So you've whatever you can do, just keep with me and ignore what your body's telling you, because your body's going to tell you that you're going to die if you don't eat at least a banana a day. You're being too extreme. And if your body's addicted to sugar like mine was, your body's going to try to convince you of anything to get its fix, and you've got to tell it, no, you're not going to die. You're going to thrive without this. Just please shut up and I control me now, not you anymore. I do. I treat my body like it's not even a part of me anymore. It probably sounds weird, but it worked for me. So I definitely did not eat enough fat in the beginning, for sure.
Yeah, I feel like yeah, I think I did hear a couple of carnivores who said the same thing about the not consuming enough fat.
Hmm.
Um, Mackenzie, so what does a typical week of eating look like for you now? Do you keep it pretty much consistent, or do you switch things up from time to time? Maybe you can walk me through?
Yeah, so a typical week looks like I will either do eggs and bacon in the morning, or just like ground beef, just with salt. I like it that way now. And then I'll do like 2 or 3 tablespoons of cold unsalted butter. Um, and I do like my own electrolyte mix as well, that I learned from Steak and Butter Gal. I ordered all the stuff off of bulk supplements, and I just take that with some sparkling water, and that has me good for like 6 or 7 hours. Um, so I usually do that in the morning. For lunch, I'll either do like just some unseasoned beef patties, and maybe some more bacon. Um, if I have a busy night, I'll do like a big sirloin, like maybe like this big, and I'll eat that around like 2:30 and just salt it up, stick it in the air fryer, and I'll be good for the rest of the night. Around 8 or 9 p.m., I'll probably have like a couple more tablespoons of butter, but then I'll be good for the whole day. If I have like a chill night and we're home and I want to eat with my family, I'll usually have like some beef patties. And then at night, I'll have like a smaller steak. I eat a lot of red meat. It's just what I prefer now. I really don't even crave anything else, really. My favorite thing to do, though, is to get a big chuck roast and put it in the crock pot overnight. Season it up just a little bit of garlic, a little bit of onion powder, some bouillon cubes, some bone broth, and then if I want to, I'll add like some bacon pieces in there, put it on the crock pot on low for 10 hours, and then I can eat off of that for a couple of days. And it's almost like a chuck roast soup. It is so good. So when I'm really busy and I don't have time to be in the kitchen on certain days, I'll prep those overnight. Um, but last night we did switch it up, and I had some beef patties and then some bacon, and then I made some shrimp on the side for me and my husband, which was like a really nice treat. So that was great.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I like to switch things up too from time to time, and I like the way you're doing it. You know, with shrimp, the bacon, the beef patties. Yeah, that's
Hmm.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Mackenzie, so is there anything hard about being carnivore for you? Some example would be, for me, would be like social gatherings with, non-carnivore, like family and friends, the travel, scouting some foods, whenever we land, to the specific location, if I'm going to starve. And
Yeah.
then the cravings in the beginning that took
Hmm.
over a year to get it out of my system. What about for you? Is there anything hard?
Yeah. So in the beginning, the cravings were very difficult. Um, but I had put myself in a wild position where I was going on and off my medication, and because I was postpartum, I was just very bad at taking care of myself. So it was almost like, if you don't stick with this, like you could get a flare. And so that was one of my biggest motivators in the very beginning, was like, if you're off of your medication and you get like a trigger of like something crazy that you put in your body, or you get sick, like you don't have your medication to fall back on. You've got to get this done. But the cravings, they were incredibly difficult. I mean, it is just frustrating. And I'm a stay-at-home mom. I could have cheated and no one would have known. Like I could have gotten away with it. But I was just very determined to, like, make this work. And I wanted to stick with doing this by faith. But today, um, I think a couple things socially. Sometimes I don't think it's so much watching people eat other things and I want to eat it, but I see the euphoria on people's face when they have like a bite of a donut, or like I see how excited they get with their little sweet coffee, or just simple things where like I remember how that felt and how like euphoric and almost relief. I was listening to this carnivore podcast, and it said, you know that you're addicted and you don't just like sugar is like when you get your fix and you feel relief because that addiction has been met again. And that was so true for me. It wasn't like I was just enjoying eating. It was like, I feel relieved now that I have my fix. And I was like, ooh, like I can't ever go back there. Like that's just so whack to be so addicted to sugar. But now it's more of like, it's just like I don't participate in that part of people's lives anymore. I'm not sitting around like super excited with ice cream. I usually just like sit back and watch people enjoy things. And the other thing that's hard, it is a little bit annoying constantly being in the kitchen. I could probably prep, but I do like my food just freshly made. I don't want to like prep a steak and then put it in the fridge and then reheat it. And now it's not like the degree of red that I like anymore. So, you know, I guess that's a little bit annoying. And I do feel a little bit guilty sometimes because I am a pastor and I'm constantly like being invited to people's houses or having people come over. The people that know that I'm a part of this lifestyle, I love them so much. And they're very willing to like, do you want me to make you a steak? Do you want me to do this for you or that for you? And it almost makes me feel like a burden because I'm like, oh my gosh, I might as well just like, you can leave me hungry. Like I'll eat before I come. But the people that I'm surrounded with in my life are just very hospitable. So it feels like I'm a little bit of a burden. They've never made me feel that way though, which is really nice. And they've been very supportive and they've seen the results that it's given me. So I think that's why they're so supportive of it. But it's like, yeah, I don't want to be like we all want pasta, but Mackenzie needs a $45 steak. Like, I don't want to be that person, but I don't know. It's worth it to me at the same time. I've offered to bring my own steaks, my own chicken thighs, like whatever, but people are like, no, we'll do it. So I don't know. It always feels a little weird.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I can just imagine. Yeah, that is
Mm-hmm.
certainly a unique situation. I think the
Mm-hmm.
first time I've heard that, but yeah, I can just imagine it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Mackenzie, so if you had to describe the impact of carnivore in your life, what one word would you describe it, and tell me why?
Oh my gosh. Um, One word that I would describe the impact that carnivore has had on me. Enlightening. It's been very enlightening. Um, it's just so it's just a shock. I do feel like I'm living in a different reality than other people sometimes. Because, you know, you go to the doctor and you get different recommendations from doctors, and they're telling you eat this many carbs, eat this many vegetables and fruits, eat this many grains, eat this much protein. And you know, I believed it. Why wouldn't I? You know, I was a child, I was a teenager, I was a young woman, and people are telling you this is what's healthy, this is what's best for you. Um, or like there's nothing wrong with like a little bit of sweet something at night. There's nothing wrong with this or that. Everything in moderation. The way the way companies will package something to make it look clean and organic and healthy and trendy, but that's just not the fact or the reality at all. And so it's been extremely enlightening. I feel like I see, because American culture is so wrapped around food to begin with, like in the normal world out there, like every meeting, every social gathering, every event, um, everything, even going to the movies, it's all centered around what do I want these people to eat? How much more money do I want out of them? And then you go to the doctor's office, and I mean, God bless them, they're incredible people, but they haven't really been trained in nutrition. They've been trained in medicine. So they'll give you medicine and then prescribe you the wrong dietary actions. And then things either don't change or they get worse. And so it's been incredibly enlightening to be on this side of it now that I've gotten past the hardest parts. And I'm just like, wow, like all our whole society has been built around this extremely dangerous and poisonous and flat out lie, just flat out lie. And it's been completely normalized. I mean, even So when I was going through like one of my other bouts of carnivore before I started to stick right with it, I was speaking to a new rheumatologist, and these, what was it, hepatitis C antibodies showed up very prominently in my blood. And he wanted to send me to like a gastroenterologist, I believe, like a stomach doctor, just to see if everything was okay. And of course, I was like, well, like my body is continually creating antibodies because it just doesn't know what it's doing right now. So do I really need to go to a doctor? Yeah, just to be on the safe side. And I was like, all right, whatever. So I went, and so I took the opportunity because I was on carnivore at that time. And I took the opportunity to ask her, and I was like, I'm on an animal-based diet. It's called the carnivore diet. Have you heard of it? And she was like, no, this is a stomach doctor, like a doctor of where you put food into. And she was like, I've never heard of this before. And I was like, well, do you think it's a good idea? Do you know the effects that it has on your body? And she said, well, it might be okay for short term, but I wouldn't do it long term. And you need to eat all of the colors. And so I was like, what? And she was like, eat purple cabbages, orange carrots, green lettuces, and spinach. And if you get a very colorful diet, that will help your gut. And so I just asked her why, and she couldn't give me an answer. And this is like a stomach doctor. Like, you're supposed to be, like, what are you studying if you're not studying the effects of what we're putting on in our mouths that go into the stomach? Like, that's the point. And so, that's when like a lot of like, whoa, like these people aren't even concerned about what we're eating and the effects that it has on our body. Like, a whole stomach doctor couldn't even give me information as to why I should eat the rainbow. Like, what is going on? And yeah, it's just one word, enlightening, very enlightening.
Yeah, I like that word. Yeah, because I certainly feel the same way, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a very interesting interaction with what you had with the doctor, about the
Mm-hmm.
because he's basically selling you the food pyramid all over again, right?
Yeah.
and and we know now like differently about nutrition. I think I really agree, that you mentioned us like living in a different reality. I think
Mm-hmm.
because we're surrounded by like people, and we probably see them like in stores, or maybe just like people around us have different diseases or condition, but at the same time we're experiencing all the benefits of it. But it's kind of like a
Yeah.
double-edged sword, like if
Yeah.
if a one word to explain it. But
Mm-hmm.
I really agree with how you describe it. Mackenzie, so knowing what you know now about carnivore, the nutrition, and other things, right? So, if you can give an advice to someone who wants to start carnivore, but let's say they have the same disease that you had, and they see the success you've had, the transformation, but at the same time, they're very skeptical.
Mm-hmm.
Heart issue is against to the thing that the doctor is saying. What would you tell them?
Um, I would tell them to continue to do research and listen to other people who have had the same testimonies until you are convinced. Something that Dr. Anthony Chafee said to me that really helped me was like, you're not going to find a lion whose body works better on grass. All of them like eat the same thing. You're not going to find an elephant who feels better eating antelope. It's just not a thing. And so it's when you're in it, or you're starting to research these things, all of the previous knowledge and the previous things that you think about your body and the way that you think is going to work is going to be questioned. And I would say lean into those questions and don't be afraid of them, and don't use them as ammunition against the truth. Really look into them. There are people that swear their body feels so much better on a little light salad. Okay, and maybe everybody's body works differently. Okay, well, we've just got to check out the logic, like that doesn't work anywhere else in the animal kingdom. And for my own reasons, I believe that animals are different than people, but we still have a body. And we're not exempt from the laws of nature in that way. We're not that special. You know what I mean? Like, so I would just look into it. You know, humans, we're some of the most genetically closely related people within a species, actually. Me and you share more genetics and have more in common genetically with each other. I looked this up. It's so cool. Me and you have more genetically in common with each other than like almost any two chimpanzees you would find in the same forest, because of a lot of different reasons. But I just think that that's so fascinating that all around the world, people have so many different diets and so many cultural elements. And I'm not against any of those things. I really don't even think it's a moral issue. I don't believe that at all. But you've got to look at the logic of it. House cats are obligate carnivores, and all of them are starting to die quicker on kibbles. You don't find any cats that their bodies work better on kibble than it would on a squirrel or a mouse or a different rodent. And so we've got to start thinking just logically and a little bit more broadly about the way we fit into this world. And think about like the benefits of like other people maybe at the top of the chain that are going to benefit from you eating and treating your body the exact same way. It's like there are benefits of you destroying yourself and going along with the lies, and it all goes to the top, and it's all about money. And if they can get you hooked on medication and keep you buying McDonald's and buying candy and buying whatever, they don't care if you're not thriving, because now they've got everybody convinced that that's just the normal way of life. My rheumatologist told me, you know, I told her, because I was like, I'm really embarrassed that I have to buy a pill organizer and be on this much medication. And she was like, well, everybody dies of something, you know, everybody has to be on something at one point or another. And I don't know, maybe just being a young woman, I was like, oh, I guess that makes sense. Now that don't make sense to me at all. You're not going to tell me that. Like, I don't know. Like, you don't realize how desensitized you are to certain things until you're out of it. And then you look back and you're like, oh my gosh, like that wasn't true at all. And you don't have to accept it as the truth. So I would say just do research, and the more you go down the rabbit hole, the more convinced you're going to be, and the more the light bulbs are going to click on. And then fortunately, but unfortunately, you're responsible after you've learned the truth. You're responsible to do with that information. Now that you have that knowledge and you've been convinced of it, now do you want to start the process of going towards a more healthier life and take the more difficult and disciplined way, or are you going to choose to stay sick? So that's the choice that I had. And I was like, you know, I know too much now. I would be an idiot not to follow this other path. I would be crazy. So let's do it. So just keep going until you're convinced. There's a ton of testimonies and information and a ton of doctors out there that they're all starting to say the same thing. Like even the government turned the pyramid upside down and was like, you know, eat way more meat. You know, this is probably the best thing for you. It's like when that starts happening, you know something is up. Like the truth has gotten out. It's too much now. People can't deny it. So you'll be all right.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with everything you said, and the way you put it is just very well said.
Yeah.
Um, Mackenzie, so you've been carnivore now for pretty much over a year.
Mm-hmm.
For those who've been carnivore for over a year, you know, let's say they experienced all the benefits inside that 1 year, but then you know they cross that 1 year, they start experiencing something negative. Maybe they're having oxalate dumping and they don't know it, or maybe um, not having enough electrolytes, or maybe they're having some specific issue. They said maybe less fat, but also they don't know it. They're just like guesstimating, right? Um, what would you tell them? Like, would you tell them to just be like, be patient with this process, or maybe ask other carnivores? I'm thinking maybe there's other carnivores that have experienced your, specific issue. What are
Hmm.
your thoughts on this?
First, I would say before you go into freak out mode and start saying, oh, this doesn't work anymore, I would just ask you to remind yourself of how far you've come. Because sometimes things just get out of balance and out of whack, and it's totally okay and it's normal. And if you have had more progress than setbacks, I would say you should probably keep going and just muscle on ahead and figure it out. Because I have seen people where they've been like a year and a half in, and something slight will happen, and then they just throw it all away and they go back to eating the way that they were. And it's like, oh my gosh, like, why would you do that? You were sleeping great, you were thinking great, you had more energy, like your life improved. Like, what? Why would you do that? So I would say, like, pump the brakes and don't freak out. It's not that the diet isn't working, but there are just just little nuanced things about our world and the access to proper nutrition that we have, that might throw things off for a little bit. Like, electrolyte things is like big. Like, we don't drink our water from streams and rivers where we would get a really great balance of electrolytes. We've got to add them into our water. Our water is like purified and chlorinated, and it's really just straight up H2O. It doesn't really have a ton of things, maybe some salts for taste or whatever, but it doesn't have the balance that we would have gotten 200 or 300 years ago even. And so we don't think about those things. We're like, oh, let's just drink like a bunch of water, and water is great for you, but our bodies were made to work with the planet, and we've just worked really hard at working against that. So it could be a ton of things. I actually just found out by some recent blood results, that I have like a ferritin issue. I'm not exactly sure what that is, but I got blood test results, and it came up that I was low iron. And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. All I do is eat red meat. What the heck is going on here? So I just did a little bit of research, and it said that I might just have like a ferritin issue, where like something's not being absorbed properly. And so I've got to figure that out. But that doesn't mean that like my lifestyle change hasn't worked. I've had so many more benefits than just this super minor shift. And if all it is like a beef liver supplement or like a ferritin supplement for a little bit, or I know a lot of carnivores can get low on calcium if they cut out, if they're not doing bone broth, or if they cut out all dairy. I actually bake eggshells and then crush them up in a coffee grinder and then put them in scrambled eggs. And when I got my blood levels checked, my calcium levels were great. They were perfect. So there's a lot of different ways that you can get around just minor issues that are happening, and they're often very easy to fix. And we get very tempted to throw away the diet because it is such a major change. And then you start thinking, well, maybe I did feel better when I had just this, or maybe I did when I just that. And it's like, pump the brakes, because your body's starting to talk to you and you can't let it finesse you into failing at this again. So I would do some research. Maybe, I mean, I've gone to a couple different doctors for different things to check on things that were changing in my body, especially through pregnancy and stuff. And I've had a couple of them like kind of close the door and be like, I was going to suggest the carnivore diet to you. Have you ever heard of this? And I'm like, oh my God. And they're like, dude, I would get my license taken away if they told me, or if they found out that I was prescribing to you a diet change. So please don't tell anybody my name or whatever, but like, this is what I recommend to you. So like, some doctors are even like slowly, like, and secretly starting to go that way, because they're even noticing like, I can actually help people permanently change their lives. And so I had that happen one particular time, and my mind was blown. I was like, wow, this is like really true. But don't freak out. Just do like a little chat GPT research, or find a different podcast, or like a research source on YouTube, and hit up a person who has had similar issues and how they've resolved it. But just don't go into freak out mode. It's like, it's unnecessary.
Yeah, I like your advice. It's very simplified, and like you said, don't freak out, don't throw everything away.
Yeah.
It's just minor changes. I think this is what separates, like on the individual basis, like it becomes the difference part. Maybe you can't tolerate this specific food, and then he can tolerate eggs, and then he may not, right? Something to
Mm-hmm.
that extent. But I
Yep.
think to that degree, I think there's a difference level. But I really like what you said because it's very simplified, simple to understand.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
It is simple.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mackenzie, my last question to you is your future outlook. How do you see carnivore in the next 5 to 10 years? Do you see it being in a good light or the bad light? Bad light meaning we'll probably see censorship in the media. Maybe the medical industry is going to push back. Some people with the help of other people who are against it. Maybe meat price is going to go skyrocket. Uh, at the same time, the good light, we're going to hear more people, wanting to learn more, talk about this more podcast, specific diseases being cured. What are your thoughts?
Um, I definitely see, like, on a broader spectrum, I see it, I'm very optimistic about it. Um, I think people are getting really sick of people senselessly dying. Um, Children are dying earlier than their parents because of completely preventable causes like childhood obesity, type 2 diabetes, like people having heart attacks and strokes younger and younger and younger. And I think people are starting to wake up to the fact that this isn't normal. So, for like the human spirit, I'm very optimistic about it. I definitely see more people that will probably open their own beef and cattle ranches. So I think local beef will become a lot more accessible and a lot more popular. Um, I see probably a lot of um, like animal rights people rising up, and I honestly think that they should, because the way that animals are currently being treated and the way that they're being farmed is like, it's not fair in my opinion. I think it's like kind of unnecessary and cruel a little bit. And so if more local farmers can start doing that, where like their animals have more space and they can actually eat what they're made to eat, like grass, and they can be out in the sun and have a life together. And, you know, I also believe in compassion. I'm not a person who like, we should just super slaughter animals because we're the main creatures that are living on the planet. Like, I don't think that that's our right at all. So I hope for the sake of just compassion that people like that do rise up and they do start putting different parameters on giant meat companies. I do see, I feel like meat printing might become a problem. Like if you start shopping at local grocers, that just freaks me out. Like, I don't know. And I do shop at the supermarket for like most of my meat. But I see that as becoming like a potential problem. But like I said, you really, you can't kill the truth. Like, you just can't. There's going to be too many people's lives that have been turned around by it. Too many people will get curious by how people are getting healthy so quickly and how they're getting happier so quicker. And so I don't think that this is like a movement. I don't believe that it's a fad diet. I believe it's the start of a really great and positive change, mostly for Western people who just took a nosedive into treating their bodies like dumpsters over the last 100 years. But I see it overall as like very positive. I think it will be normalized pretty quickly. Maybe not within the next 5 to 10 years. I don't think like big pharma and the sugar companies are going to let it go that easily. But I do think that more people will at least hear about it and be like, oh, that's not so crazy. Like, my cousin's doing that, or that's not so crazy. My teacher lost 50 pounds this year and she did it, and that was really cool for her. And so that's kind of where I see it heading.
Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah.
cool. I agree. I think there's going to be a mix of, like good and bad. And I think you talk about, the animal rights people. Yeah. Mackenzie, if people want to reach out or connect with you, where's the best place to reach you?
You can reach me on Facebook. My name is spelled just like it is at the bottom of the corner. My last name is Smolin, Smolin, and also on Instagram. My handle is Kenzle, Kenzlle. And yeah, I'm open to any questions or concerns or just to talk and meet you. That's great.
This is excellent. I'm gonna make sure to post them both in the description so people can reach out to you.
Okay.
Mackenzie, thank you very much again for joining me. I really enjoyed hearing your story, your carnivore journey. I appreciate you taking the time to share. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for having me on.